Part 1, The Confession That Launched 1,000 Questions. My name's Daniel. 38 years old. Copywriter. Lives in the suburbs. Allergic to cats, emotionally allergic to TikTok, and, until last Tuesday morning, I was blissfully, entirely unaware that I had married an alien. It started like any Tuesday. I was at the kitchen table, midway through a cup of lukewarm coffee that tasted like regret and overbrewed sadness, flipping through emails I was actively ignoring. Across from me sat Emily, my wife of 6 years, munching on what looked like cereal but made an unsettling hiss every time she added milk. I thought it was one of her superfoods again. You know, chia bark kelp fusion or some horrifying Silicon Valley nutrition cube. I didn't ask. I've learned. Then she said it. So casual, it might as well have been a grocery list item. By the way, honey, she said, spoon halfway to her mouth, I'm from the Andromeda Verge. Technically. I blinked. I'm sorry. From where? She swallowed, wiped her lips, and repeated it as if I were hard of hearing. Andromeda Verge. Specifically, the Zarnexian biocluster. My original form is more photonic. But this is the marriage body. Custom grown. I stared. She sipped her orange juice. I blinked again, like I was double-clicking reality to see if it would open a more reasonable version. You're joking, I said finally. Like, you're an alien. Right? Like that time you told my mom that gluten was a myth spread by the yeast overlords. Remember? She set down her glass. No, I was serious then too. But you were distracted trying to explain NFTs to her, so I let it go. There was a pause. Then another. Then I laughed. A dry, nervous laugh. The kind of laugh that says I'm processing this and may require adult supervision. You're serious, I said. Of course, she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I love you, Daniel. And love requires honesty. I didn't want to lie anymore. You deserve to know. You're an alien. Yes. You have a custom-grown body. From the Zarnexian bio-cluster? She nodded, all sweet and sincere like she hadn't just detonated every assumption I'd had about breakfast and reality. And this, human form you've been using all these years, this is just, what, a disguise. More like a relationship model, she said thoughtfully. Designed for optimal emotional bonding. And hips. She winked. I blinked for a third time. Something in my brain hiccuped, and suddenly, every strange moment of our relationship clicked into place like puzzle pieces dipped in LSD. Her skin glowed faintly whenever we watched meteor showers. She never sneezed. Ever. That one time I walked in on her talking to the blender, which replied. Oh my God, I muttered. Is that why sex has always been cosmic? She finished with a sly smile. Yes. My entire face blushed in 1 second flat. I nearly swallowed my coffee mug. So, all those nights when you said you were meditating, I began slowly, you were actually beaming updates to my cluster, she said. Mostly emotional telemetry. Some intimate details. Hope that's okay. You've been sending reports about our bedroom activities? Strictly anonymized. And they were very impressed. You have excellent lower back stamina, by the way. Oh my God. Why do you think I married you? After I got over the initial shock, and it took about a full pot of coffee, a walk around the block, and one mild panic attack in the laundry room, we sat down to talk it through. Surprisingly, she was incredibly open. About everything. Her species, her real name, which sounded like someone gargling a thunderstorm, her purpose, a long-term emotional field study, and even her favorite earth food, cinnamon rolls. And then, something changed. With the secret out, she stopped hiding all sorts of things. She stopped blinking every 4 seconds to mimic humans. Her hair started shifting colors depending on her mood. She even grew a second set of eyelids for better movie watching. Life didn't get weird. It got weirder and wonderful. She finally taught me how to use the mood wall in our bedroom. Yes, we had one. I thought it was just avant-garde LED paneling. She started cooking fusion dishes from Earth and her homeworld. Think lasagna with microgravitational layering and something she called exultant spores. Also, fun fact, apparently she can hover when she's happy. Found that out during a rerun of the Great British Bake Off. It was adorable. But adorable didn't last. Because it turns out, in the Zarnexian union of star-spanning civilizations, marriage with Earthlings is strictly prohibited. And that's when the real trouble began. Part 2, Missed Inspection and Meatballs. By the time Daniel got used to the idea of being married to an alien, another surprise floated, through their front door. He was made of mist. Quite literally. A humanoid shape composed of swirling vapor and bureaucracy, wearing a sash that shimmered with ever-shifting text. He hovered into the living room and declared, "I am here to assess your interspecies union for compliance under Galactic Regulation 9-77B. Daniel blinked from the couch. "Sorry, you're who?" "MXX Lork. Marital Alignment Officer, Zarnexian Sector." "And that," he added, pointing a vaporous limb at the cat licking itself on the armrest, "is a Category 3 companion life form." "Registered?" "Registered for what?" Daniel asked. "Emotional buffering. Domestic harmonization." The cat meowed. Daniel sighed. "Let's just say yes." Emily emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel, unbothered. "MXX Lork. You're early. You are in violation of Protocol 8.3c, the mist being intoned. The Earthling is not yet harmonized. There has been no neural linking, cultural integration, or emission testing." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Emission what now?" Emily whispered, "Don't worry. He's just here to make sure we're bonding properly. Think of it as a galactic marriage audit." Daniel scowled. "You could have warned me before the interstellar IRS showed up." MXX Lork glided into the dining area and began scanning everything. The cat tried to swat his vapor. It passed through and made a sound like a bubble popping in reverse. Daniel muttered, "Do we need a lawyer?" "Only if he dematerializes the house," Emily said cheerfully. "Which he won't." "Probably." The mist being paused at the fridge, eyeing a shopping list. "Who wrote meatballs for Tuesday?" "I did," Daniel said. "Explain their emotional significance." Daniel looked baffled. "They're just meatballs." The mist being hummed. "Primitive comfort food. Symbol of shared ritual. Acceptable." He floated past a family photo. "This representation, no filters?" Daniel stared. "It's a Polaroid." The mist being's mist swirled in approval. "Authenticity, commendable." After an hour of invasive yet oddly polite interrogation, ranging from dental habits to emotional resilience under gamma storms, MXX Lork finally nodded. "You score 74 out of 100. Conditional compliance." Daniel folded his arms. "What happens if we fail next time?" "Emotional quarantine. Or reassignment to a more biologically compatible partner." Emily grinned. "We'd fight that." "We'd fight everyone," Daniel added. The mist being shimmered uncertainly, as if trying to calculate sarcasm. "Very well. I shall return for reassessment in 4.2 lunar cycles." And with a polite pop, he vanished into the air like a bureaucratic fart. Daniel collapsed into a chair. So. That was a thing. Emily sat beside him, curling her glowing fingers into his. You did great. I told a gas cloud about our sex life, Emily. She smiled. And he gave us points for authenticity. Remind me again why we're doing this? She leaned her head against his shoulder. Because I love you. And if being with you means arguing with clouds and registering cats as emotional support staff, so be it. He was silent for a long time. Then, we are not naming our first child MXX Lork. Fair. They laughed. And somewhere, the cat sneezed and knocked over the inspection paperwork. Part 3, X marks the spot. They were just starting to relax again when the doorbell rang. Emily opened it, took one look, and immediately let out a sigh that made her hair turn from teal to a deep, stormy purple. Standing there was a tall, silver-skinned man in a shimmering asymmetric cloak that rippled with tiny constellations. His cheekbones had cheekbones. His eyes were gold. His posture made Daniel's back hurt just looking at him. "Hello, Emily," the visitor said, his voice like polished granite dipped in honey. "You look radiant as ever." Daniel stepped into the hallway and blinked. Who's Mr. Space Opera?" Emily crossed her arms. "Zorvel. My ex." "Her what now?" Daniel said, voice pitching up 2 octaves. Zorvel smiled with polite venom. "I came to offer formal testimony to the council regarding your unique marriage. And I thought I'd see for myself the human who charmed the most luminous empath in the Verge." Emily's fingers twitched with restrained energy. "You already gave up your bonding rights 7 cycles ago, Zor." "I never revoked my emotional veto," he said smugly. "Which means I still have influence." Daniel looked from one to the other. "I feel like I'm in the middle of an alien soap opera. What exactly is an emotional veto?" "It's like blocking someone's wedding on spiritual grounds," Emily muttered. Zor always liked dramatic exits. And entrances. Zorvel stepped into their home without asking. "Don't worry, Earth being. I only want to observe." Daniel watched him glide over to the couch like he owned the air. The cat jumped into his lap, traitorously purring. "Of course." Emily pulled Daniel aside and whispered, "I promise, this will be brief." Daniel hissed back, "Your ex has his own theme music. This is not going to be brief." Zorvel, already examining their bookshelf with a frown, asked, "So, Daniel. Do you find her illuminating?" "I find her wonderful," Daniel replied, crossing his arms. "Even when she rearranges the kitchen by planetary logic." "She always did have strange nesting instincts," Zor murmured, flipping through one of Daniel's books like it had personally offended him. Emily's hair sparked like static. "That's enough, Zor. I merely came to assess the bond," he said smoothly. "But now that I see it with my own eyes, I can't deny, it's unorthodox. Chaotic. Possibly hazardous." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "So is deep-fried butter. But some people love it." Zor blinked. "I don't understand that reference." "Exactly," Daniel said. There was a long, strange silence. Then Zorvel did something Daniel didn't expect. He bowed. "Very well," he said. "I withdraw my veto. Against all logic, this bond works." Emily looked stunned. "You're serious?" Zor nodded. "It is volatile. Irrational. Impossible to model. But it is clearly genuine." Then, like the dramatic alien he was, Zor touched the air, folded himself into light, and vanished in a ripple of scent and particles. Daniel stared at the space he left behind. Was that a breakup or a blessing? Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. "Both." "Next time," he said, "can we just meet your college roommate instead?" She laughed and kissed him. "You're doing great, Earthling." "Great," he muttered. "Now I just have to live up to your glowing ex-boyfriend with galactic cheekbones." Emily smiled. You've got something he never had. What's that? Me. They stayed like that for a long time, in a quiet moment that needed no approval from any counsel. And somewhere, the cat purred, smug as ever. Part 4, Game Night with the Cluster. Daniel had faced mist inspectors, floating bureaucrats, and Emily's galactic ex. But nothing, prepared him for her siblings. They're visiting tonight, Emily said casually one afternoon, stirring a pot of something that hissed in 3 languages. Siblings? Daniel asked. As in, plural? 47, she said. From my cluster pod. Technically we share a hive mind origin, but don't worry, they've all individuated. Daniel blinked. That's not reassuring. At exactly 7 p.m., the doorbell played a tone that sounded like someone whispering secrets into a black hole. The door opened, and in poured a rainbow of beings, shimmering, shifting, floating, crawling, humming. One had 12 eyes that blinked independently. Another arrived in a suitcase. A third hovered upside down and offered Daniel a jar labeled, Emotion Jam. Cluster Gamma, 9X, meet Daniel, Emily announced. Daniel smiled weakly. Hi. Nice to exist near you. They all responded at once, some in sound, some in light, one through interpretive sneeze. The cat immediately vanished into the couch cushions. The chaos had only just begun. An hour later, the living room had transformed into an alien board game arena. A glowing field projected across the floor. Holographic dice hovered midair. Rules changed mid-turn. The game was called Skrethenthel, Trial of Emotional Cohesion via Temporal Collapse. You just throw this? Daniel asked, holding a screaming die. You project your intentions through it, one sibling corrected, 3 of its mouths harmonizing. Emily was glowing lavender with joy. Daniel, sweating slightly, was trying to convince a sentient cloud not to target him for emotional incoherence. He lost his first round when the board accused him of unresolved issues with his 3rd-grade math teacher. He won the second by sharing a memory of his grandmother teaching him to bake bread. The board wept. 2 siblings applauded in binary. Midway through, one of the fog-like siblings leaned toward Daniel. You are deliciously confusing. I get that a lot, he muttered. Hours passed. The room pulsed with color, laughter, strange noises, and alien crosstalk. Then came the toast. A crystalline sibling floated to the center of the room and raised a cup of glowing plasma. To Daniel and Emily. Against all calculations, they remain entangled. All 47 siblings raised their glasses. One sibling raised a small plant. Daniel lifted his mug of now lukewarm tea. To improbable love. The entire cluster hummed in unison. The walls glowed pink. The cat blinked twice and decided to accept fate. Later, as the siblings shimmered away in pairs and puddles, Emily curled up beside Daniel on the couch. They liked you, she said. I emotionally checkmated a fog, he replied. I feel like I earned at least some respect. She smiled and kissed him. You did better than most species do. He looked at her, glowing softly under the mood lamp. This is the weirdest life I've ever had. But it's ours, she said. And he couldn't argue with that. Part 5, The Festival of Emotional Resonance. It started with a glowing envelope that appeared on their kitchen table between the salt shaker and Daniel's half-eaten toast. Emily read it, then winced. Oh no, she said. Daniel looked up. Oh no what? We've been summoned to the Festival of Emotional Resonance. On my homeworld. He blinked. Like, a family reunion? Worse, she said. It's part legal ceremony, part ritual performance, part mandatory therapy in front of a live audience. Daniel rubbed his temples. I once cried at a commercial where a dog found its owner after a tornado. Do I need to do that in public now? Basically, she said, gently glowing. Just be your authentic, chaotic self. That's why they fear you. The invitation glowed again, brighter now, pulsing with urgency. And don't be late, she added. They get touchy about time. Zarnex Prime wasn't a planet in the traditional sense. It was a giant rotating flower moon suspended inside a gravity-bent valley of stars, pulsing with color and song. Daniel stepped out of the transport pod and immediately started sweating. It's like a lava lamp got religion. Emily's homeworld swayed with living architecture, buildings that pulsed, paths that breathed. The air smelled like mint, static electricity, and rain before it falls. It's beautiful, Daniel said. Don't lick anything, Emily replied. They made their way to a vast amphitheater carved into a hillside of bioluminescent coral. A crowd of alien beings filled the seats, shimmering, humming, whispering in thought threads and scent pulses. High above, a ribbon of stars looped through the sky like it was painted on. Daniel gripped Emily's hand. Are you sure this thing won't explode if I say the wrong thing? No, she said. But that's what makes it exciting. Their names were called. They stepped onto a platform in the center of the amphitheater. Beneath their feet, the stone shimmered and came alive, turning translucent, humming in tune with their heartbeats. The officiant was a floating entity made of silk and light. It spoke in chimes and pulses. Project your bond, it said. No lies. No filters. No shields. Daniel looked at Emily. She was already glowing, sending waves of soft green and gold into the air. Emotions radiated off her like music, love, fear, joy, memory. The crowd felt it, visibly moved. Then it was his turn. Daniel closed his eyes and thought of their kitchen. Of her singing in languages he couldn't pronounce. Of the time she caught a falling knife with her forearm and said, "Don't worry, I have backups." Of the way she made him feel like Earth had never been enough. He opened his heart, and the field caught it. Light burst upward. Colors erupted across the sky. The amphitheater vibrated as his human feelings rippled through the alien air, rough and raw and honest. The officiant paused. Then bowed. Bond, accepted. The crowd erupted in sound, clapping, chiming, rippling through the air like a chorus of starlight. Emily grabbed Daniel and kissed him, long and deep. You did it, she whispered. I think I cried light, he whispered back. You did. Later, they sat beneath a ribbon-star sky eating something vaguely fruity. I think I might have started a galactic emotional revolution, Daniel said. You terrified the field, Emily replied. It didn't know what to do with all that nostalgia and guilt over missed dentist appointments. He leaned against her. So what now? We go back home and tell everyone Earth's in love with the galaxy? Almost. One last thing first. What? Emily smiled. My mother wants to meet you. Daniel paled. Oh God. Part 6, Ambassador by Accident. The job offer arrived in the middle of breakfast. Daniel had just poured milk into his cereal when a thin beam of light descended through the ceiling, formed into a scroll, and softly cleared its throat. Daniel Harris, it said in a voice that sounded like two planets politely arguing. You are hereby nominated for interspecies diplomatic duty on behalf of Earth and the Zarnexian Union. He stared at the scroll. Emily, calmly buttering toast, said, Oh. That was faster than I expected. You expected this? I didn't think they'd actually pick you. But you are statistically unpredictable. That's valued in galactic mediation. Daniel wiped milk off the table. So I sneeze on a jellyfish diplomat and now I'm a representative of Earth? Yes, said the scroll. That sneeze was interpreted as a disarmingly sincere greeting. Daniel groaned. I was allergic to their carpet. Exactly, Emily said with a proud grin. You're chaos incarnate. You speak for us all. His first assignment took place on a neutral space platform shaped like a glass onion. He wore a suit 2 sizes too big and a translator pin that kept translating his own mutterings back at him in Flemish. The diplomatic table featured 3 alien species locked in a furious trade dispute over spores, scents, and territorial bubbles. Daniel's job? Don't make it worse. He smiled. Greetings. Earth says hi. The jellyfish being wobbled, releasing a scent. Daniel's translator labeled guarded optimism. The volcanic ambassador, literally molten, grunted. Why send this wet pink thing? Daniel glanced at his notepad, found nothing useful, and said, because I'm unpredictable. I once ate soup with scissors. Everyone paused. The aquatic ambassador burbled with laughter. The others followed, and just like that, the tension in the room deflated. Emily, watching via a secure stream, shook her head with amused disbelief. Word spread fast. Daniel's performance went viral across 8 star systems. Clips of his awkward diplomacy, confused metaphors, and heartfelt tangents were compiled into a series titled Earth's Ambassador of Accidents. He became a symbol of chaotic peacekeeping. A squid-based culture called him the empath who trips. A mineral race referred to him as one who falls up. Daniel started getting offers. Speeches. Consultations. Merchandising deals involving mugs that said, I sneezed my way to peace. One night, as he tried to fix their toaster, Emily watched him with a strange smile. You know, she said, they trust you. I dropped an official seal into a soup bowl. And you apologized. Twice. He glanced at her. Do you think I'm actually good at this? I think you're honest, she said. You lead with your flaws. That's rare in diplomacy. He stared at the toaster. Then laughed. I just wanted cereal. Then came the Earth broadcast. The newly formed Earth-Alien Relations Council asked Daniel and Emily to appear together, for the first time, as a couple representing peaceful coexistence. It was live. It was global. And Daniel, as usual, was underdressed. The lights were hot. The stage was shiny. The host kept smiling like someone was twisting her from behind. So, she said cheerfully, how does one fall in love with a glowing alien? Daniel blinked. Slowly. And then all at once. Sort of like slipping on a patch of ice, but the ice bakes cinnamon rolls. The audience chuckled. Emily added, he's clumsy. He's loud. He talks in metaphors. Daniel said, she glows when she laughs. And she's the only person who makes bureaucratic mist feel like background noise. The host blinked, stunned for a moment. Then asked, do you believe this kind of love is sustainable? They looked at each other. And answered, together, yes. Not because it was perfect. Because it was real. Afterward, they sat on a quiet bench outside the broadcast center. The stars above them pulsed in long, silent waves. I think we just became an Earth-alien power couple, Daniel said. I think you just accidentally made first contact charming. He rested his head on her shoulder. You know what scares me? What? I might be getting good at this. Emily laced her glowing fingers with his. Terrifying thought. He grinned. You started this. You and your secret cereal. And you, she said, leaning in, with your terrible metaphors and golden heart. I'm still not wearing pants on interstellar calls. Obviously. They kissed. And above them, far across the stars, the galactic news feed labeled them the couple that made the universe believe in love again. Part 7, Love, actually, is galactic policy. Fame came faster than anyone expected. One day, Daniel was a suburban copywriter married to a woman with shimmering hair and a mysterious accent. The next, he was on the cover of 20 interstellar magazines, listed as Top 10 Unexpected Diplomats, right above a sentient mushroom who specialized in hostage negotiations. It turned out, the universe loved stories. And Earth's story, an anxious human who fell for a glowing alien and accidentally became a peace icon, was a bestseller. Daniel didn't ask for the spotlight, but it found him anyway. He was invited to address councils, star in education modules, even lend his voice to an animated series titled Planet Love. His catchphrase, "It's not weird if it works," became a meme. Children on 3 planets used it as a reason to eat dessert before dinner. He handled most of it with quiet panic and confused dignity. Emily handled it with grace and the occasional sarcastic commentary. Together, they handled it. One day, they were summoned to an official summit, one that would decide whether Earth would receive full inclusion in the Interstellar Cultural Coalition. They were told their presence would be symbolic. A celebration of union, understanding, trust. What they weren't told was that Earth's membership hinged on their bond being considered stable. "You've got to be kidding," Daniel whispered as they waited backstage. Emily's skin had taken on a calming teal shimmer. "They just want reassurance. You're good at that. You once de-escalated a turf war by offering cookies. That only worked because they didn't know what cookies were. I could have given them insulation foam." "Still counts," she said. "Besides, all we have to do is answer questions. Be ourselves. No more, no less." Daniel adjusted his jacket, which glowed slightly under Zarnexian lighting. "Being myself is why Earth nearly didn't get invited to that trade gala. And also why 12 species trust you more than their own diplomats." A voice announced their names. Lights rose. They walked out hand in hand. The coalition chamber was enormous, a cathedral of light and architecture that seemed to grow as you looked at it. Dozens of species were represented, some floating, some anchored, some existing in multiple spots at once. The air buzzed with expectation. The council speaker, a being shaped like a spinning hourglass, opened the floor. "We ask only this: why does your bond matter? Why should it serve as the symbol of Earth's readiness to join our collective?" Daniel stepped to the microphone. It blinked politely. He cleared his throat. "We didn't mean to start a movement. I didn't know marrying someone from another star system would turn me into a galactic metaphor. I just knew she made my life better. Stranger, louder, more colorful. But better." He glanced at Emily. Her glow softened. "She made me ask questions I didn't know I'd buried. She made me feel like I was part of something more. And it turns out love doesn't care about species or gravity. Love just needs a place to land." There was a pause. Then Emily stepped forward. "I didn't think I'd stay," she said. "Earth was supposed to be a brief field study. Daniel was supposed to be an anomaly I filed in a report. But he made me laugh. He asked real questions. He made burnt toast and sang in the mornings and cried when we watched documentaries about whales. That got a few soft ripples of laughter from the aquatic delegation. I didn't understand humans at first. But I understood him." She reached out, took his hand. "I still do." A long silence followed. Then the chamber lights brightened. And one by one, each delegate signaled acceptance. Earth was in. As the crowd erupted in lights and sound and applause, Daniel leaned toward her. "We did it." "No," Emily whispered, smiling. "You did it. You made the galaxy believe in something it had almost forgotten." "What's that?" "That impossible things are worth trying for." They walked off the stage as the applause rippled through the stars. Later, back home, they curled up on the couch. The galaxy, for once, was quiet. "So," Daniel said, resting his head against her. "What now?" Emily smiled and turned off the lights with a flick of her fingers. Now, she whispered, we just live. And that, for the first time in a long time, felt like enough. The cat jumped up between them and fell asleep. The house hummed. Somewhere, beyond the clouds, 1,000 worlds listened for what might happen next. But Daniel and Emily? They simply stayed right there, glowing, laughing, and wonderfully, impossibly, in love. The end. If you liked this sci-fi story, subscribe to the channel to not miss new stories.